Your name is Marge?
Marge Van Cleef.
Van Cleef. And you just spoke at this anti-war Speakout
Yes.
that's over here on 5th and Chestnut in Philly during
Yes.
the DNC. And what you said was very powerful when you said, we are in war because we can. We kill people because we can. Can you just say,
Well, it means that the United States feels that they have the right to kill people. And nobody is saying you cannot.
Right.
They're not saying it here. They're not saying it there. So we kill because we can. We have the money to produce unlimited weapons. We have the money to pay people to run these drone command centers. And so there's no reason not to do what we're doing, right?
Right.
And it's all in the name of this so-called war on terror, which was bogus in the first place. The invasion of Iraq set it off in 2003. That set off the whole disruption in the Middle East, and we've never gotten over it. Now, the sanctions before that were dreadful too, but the declaration of war on Iraq was 2003, 13 years ago, and it has spread throughout the Middle East.
What is your take on 9/11?
Oh, I don't know. I think it might have been a terror attack, a so-called terror attack. Sure, I think that was in the making for a long time, and it had been, they had been threatening that for a long time. But that didn't come out of Iraq.
Right.
And the idea was, oh well, we got to get rid of Saddam Hussein. Well, that wasn't it. It wasn't it. It was control of the greater Middle East, and they didn't expect it, I don't think, to become as chaotic as it has. So it hasn't been profitable, as far as I know, except that the weapons manufacturers are still making money, and the oil fields have been taken over by American companies.
Do you think that even if the powers that be, the military-industrial complex, the U.S. government, corporate-owned government, came out and just said that they're bombing just because they can for profit, that it would make a difference to the people?
Well, I
of this
think it would
country?
stir the conversation a little bit, just a little bit.
Like, do they even need to hide behind the war on terror?
You mean the administration?
Right.
Well, they have to. I mean, it isn't totally. It's illegal in the first place. So they know that. They know what they're doing is illegal if you don't declare war on a country. So if you're doing something illegal, you try to cover it up a little bit. You try to make some kind of excuses. That's how I see it. And so they call it the war on terror. But they have nothing to fear from the population, even though I think most people would say they're against the war. I don't hear people saying much in favor of it, but they don't want to allow that conversation to be opened up. So they keep saying, oh, you're going to be bombed, it's a war on terror, Osama bin Laden did this and that one did that, and of course it's a threat, I'm sure.
Yeah, this country's creating the terrorism.
That's right.
So-called
right.
terrorism.
Exactly. That's right. That's right.
Thank you, Marge.
Thank you.
Welcome to America, land of the free. Free to buy a green car and a flat screen TV. Free to walk around with your head in the sand, and free to be locked up if you try to make a stand. You'll be convicted for your convictions. You'll be tried for trying to speak the truth you see. You'll be vilified for calling out the villains. Just don't exercise your freedoms and you will be free.
Foresight to organize us to be out here on the lawn, and I really ask if you would give them applause for the work they've done on getting this together, permits, all that stuff. So thank you. I have a website with other people called knowdrones.com. It's KNOW drones.com. And you can go there and you can get information. We're going to be setting up a new series of television ads we're starting to raise money for to put on in those communities near drone bases. I have some observations about the politics of the moment, but before we go any further, I wondered if anyone has questions in the audience about drone warfare. I think we make certain assumptions sometimes that people know, details of that, have their curiosity satisfied. But does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask about drone war at this point? Yes, ma'am. The question is, are drone operators, the ones who control drones, getting PTSD? And I think the answer is yes, they are, but they're also contracting something that's now called moral injury, which means that basically their consciences have been awakened and are so profoundly troubling to them that in some cases it's brought on suicides. And in Las Vegas near Creech Air Force Base, there was a drone operator who was put in jail for pushing around his wife. He was held without charge for a long period of time, and when it came to the point of the revelation about the Air Force's study of the consequences of drone war on the operators and having that revealed in the General Courts Martial, the Air Force then immediately settled that case, gave him an administrative discharge, and put him out. At the same time he was arrested, one of his colleagues, also a drone operator, was found dead in the desert. It was a very peculiar thing because he had a wife, 2 children. He'd been a very successful father and community member as far as it could be gathered. But we have then had other drone operators come out and speak about the troubling conscience and observations of what they've seen that we're being deprived of. There are no videos of these drone attacks. There are no videos of the dead bodies, very few. And I want to say right now that the president has come out with statistics about drone operators, about drone casualties, trying to separate the civilians from the bad people. There's no legitimate reason for us to think that there is any killing of bad people, because none of the people killed, over 7,200 people now have been killed by U.S. drones since 2001. Not one single person has been in front of a court, a judge, a jury. All have been assassinated. And there's even Congressman Rush Holt, who, with other members of Congress, asked the president, please give us information about what's going on. Their letter was constantly ignored. Rush Holt had seen the videos. He talked to people in the intelligence community, and he was told basically this is, and he understood this to be assassination. And so this is, some people say, well, why are you talking about drones? Isn't it just one other weapon? The drone is a very peculiar and unique weapon in that it follows people, it violates their privacy in other countries repeatedly, endlessly, until someone decides someone needs to be killed. And then the order is given, kill that person. If you go on the internet, you can see kill lists of hundreds of people. There are different categories of, we'll wait to kill this person, we'll kill this person on sight, we'll follow this person. And this is not just tens of people, 20s of people. This is hundreds of people all the time. At any given moment, there are at least 180 drones in the air doing their surveillance and or killing.
Away when killer drones were near, so kids can play neath open skies. Attacks from drones must end. Let's reclaim our humanity and make some global friends. Let's reclaim our humanity and make some global friends. Thank you, and keep raging.
It's with great pleasure to introduce...
Hey, everybody. So raise your hand if you think Hillary Clinton is more likely than Donald Trump to drag us into more wars. Raise your hand if you think Donald Trump is more likely than Hillary Clinton. Well, that looks like a minority, although some of you are putting your hands up twice, so I think the ones putting their hand up twice probably have it right, which is we don't know what Donald Trump would do. He's a little unhinged, and that's not very good when it comes to things like war and peace and nuclear weapons. And we do know what Hillary Clinton has done, and that's not good for those of us who want to live in a peaceful world. So obviously, we got our work cut out for us. Somebody told me that there was a poll that was done of Bernie Sanders delegates ranking the issues they thought were the most important. And the issues of war and peace, foreign policy, Israel-Palestine, all ranked about 3%. Say boo. Right, yeah. So that is really disconcerting. I mean, I would think they would be with us on the issues, but the fact that they don't care very much about it, and these are very progressive people, is something we ought to reflect on. So in many, many, many ways, we have our work cut out for us. I think one of the areas where we have a lot of momentum, especially among young people on campuses and among the faith-based community, is the issue around justice for Palestine. And I want to introduce Ariel with Code Pink to tell you about some of our campaigns.
Hi. So Code Pink participates in the nonviolent boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. Woo! Specifically, we work on two campaigns right now. One is the Remodel Remax campaign, and the other is the Stolen Homes Airbnb campaign, asking both companies to get business out of illegal Israeli settlements. Yeah! We know that settlements are a giant obstacle to peace. And tomorrow, speaking of obstacles to peace, Israeli Ambassador Ron Dermer will be in a private meeting at the Pennsylvania Convention Center, and we're going to be protesting outside on 12th Street and Arch Street, which is the delegate entrance to the Convention Center, at 11:30 a.m. That's 12th Street and Arch Street at 11:30 a.m. And we're asking all of you to join us and help us let Ron Dermer know that we want him out of U.S. politics. So we're going to be there to let him know that we do not want to strengthen the U.S.-Israel alliance, and that we want instead to end support for repressive regimes. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Medea to talk about U.S. support for repressive regimes.
So as we do this work around Israel, people often say to us, but there are all these repressive Arab regimes, why aren't you doing something about them? So we are. We at Code Pink have taken on a campaign against an extremely repressive Arab regime, and that is Saudi Arabia. We will be working all this year, and we hope to be working with many of you to highlight the tragic irony that the most repressive country in the Middle East, the one that has really been spreading the Wahhabi intolerant version of Islam, happens to be a great friend of the U.S. government and has become the #1 weapons purchaser of the United States. $97 billion of weapons are in the pipeline right now. Just think about that, $97 billion worth of weapons. The majority of them negotiated under the Obama administration with the okay of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton Clinton, as you know, also has a foundation called the Clinton Foundation that has taken many millions of dollars from the Saudi regime. Now they tell us Hillary Clinton is a feminist, but isn't it strange that a feminist would take money, millions of dollars, from the only country in the world that doesn't allow women to even drive? So I want to end just by saying that as a women-led organization, we do want a woman for president. In fact, it would be wonderful if Jill Stein were the next president. But in the meantime, more important for us is that we have a movement in the streets, in the suites, and everywhere that will put pressure on whoever is in the White House to say, cut the ties with the Israeli regime, cut the ties with the Saudi regime, cut the ties with the Egyptian regime. And we want to say that we will keep working to make sure that we have a government one day that makes diplomacy number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and on and on. And so we'd like to end with a chant that we say when Hillary Clinton says it takes a village to raise a child, we say it takes one bomb to raise a village. And that what we really want is feminism, real feminism, which is anti-militarism. So we can end on a chant saying, feminism, not militarism. Feminism, not militarism. Feminism, not militarism. Feminism, not militarism. Thank you so much. Power the peaceful.
Closer eye on in the last few months and years. I think the rhetoric coming from some of the presidential candidates have raised the issue to become a national concern. And I know that there are many people concerned about one presidential candidate and his rhetoric regarding Muslims, but the reality is that all of the presidential candidates have problematic language when it comes to Muslim Americans. Yesterday I was at the DNC attending the activities, and I was shocked to hear President Clinton's speech where he actually also alluded indirectly to deporting American Muslims. So President Clinton gave a speech last night saying that American Muslims, if they were supportive of the US, and if they loved freedom, and if they hated terrorism, they should stay here and work on us so that we can all win this battle. And this conditionality, you know, like for me as a Muslim American, to feel that I have to prove that I love the US and I love freedom and I hate terrorism to earn the right to be in this country, that is an unreasonable demand of Muslim Americans. That is a demand that we have to all say no to. Muslim Americans are as American as everyone else. We don't have to prove our loyalty. We don't have to prove that we hate terrorism more than others to gain the right to be in this country. So I want to talk about the issue of Islamophobia from two perspectives. One of them is the anti-immigrant sentiment that has been on the rise in the last few months. And this is, of course, includes anti-refugee sentiment. And the assumption that I want to challenge today is that refugees are coming here as an act of charity. That is something that I am completely opposed to. Refugees who are coming to the United States are not coming here as an act of charity. These are mostly people who are coming to other countries because we destroy their nations. The United States played an active role in making their countries unlivable. And the fact that we have to allow them to come to this country is actually fulfilling our moral responsibilities. It is not an act of charity, it's an act of fulfilling our moral responsibilities. It's a small part of our moral responsibility. Our moral responsibilities also include fixing the root causes, fixing their homelands that we help destroy so that they can, at one day in the future, go back home. Because the majority of these refugees and displaced people do not want to leave their countries. They actually want to go back home. And we can play a role in making their countries livable again. We can play a role in ending our interventions, and we should be playing that role. And until those conditions become real on the ground, we have to allow them to come to the US and other countries as refugees.